Marcela.
People on Earth live in countries where practicing their faith could cost them everything. ACN's 2025 Religious Freedom Report findings show that this fundamental right is under greater threat than ever before. Imagine that 2/3 of the world's population, living in 62 countries around the globe today, are exposed to either religious discrimination or persecution. That represents almost 5.4 billion persons, mothers, fathers, and children, whose freedom, safety, and even their lives are at risk. Of these, over 4.1 billion people live in 24 countries where the most serious violations of religious freedom are experienced. Classified as persecution, these cases include assault, kidnap, imprisonment, and even death. The ACN Religious Freedom Report identifies three main forces driving this global persecution. Authoritarian control, governments that perceive autonomous faith groups as a threat to their power. In North Korea, owning a Bible could result in life imprisonment or execution. China's Skynet program, controlling about 700 million surveillance cameras, monitors all faith groups. Religious extremism. Jihadist groups don't just target other faiths. They eliminate all those who don't share the exact interpretation of their beliefs. In Nigeria's Middle Belt, entire villages are forced to flee as armed groups burn churches and schools. Ethno-religious nationalism. In several countries, religion is increasingly used to define national identity. In India, Hindu nationalist policies have undermined constitutional religious freedoms, targeting Muslim and Christian communities through anti-conversion laws, foreign funding restrictions, and societal violence. The fragility of religious freedom is most exposed in areas of conflict. War doesn't just kill people. It kills the spaces where people seek solace, hope, and God. The most heartbreaking religious freedom violations involve those who are vulnerable twice over, particularly young women from religious minorities who face a double threat. In Pakistan, Christian and Hindu girls as young as 10 are kidnapped, forcibly converted to Islam, and married to their abductors. Should a family seek police help, local authorities often turn a blind eye, fearful of inciting mob violence. Innumerable Christian girls in Egypt have fallen victim to religiously motivated kidnapping, rape, forced marriage, and conversion. The digital age has created new battlegrounds for faith. Authoritarian governments use artificial intelligence to monitor religious content online. Every prayer shared, every spiritual question asked, every religious discussion becomes potential evidence for persecution. In Pakistan alone, over 400,000 complaints target people for what they post about faith. Beyond outright persecution, a further 1.3 billion people in 38 countries suffer frequent and undocumented discrimination against. These are nations where you might not be killed for your faith, but you'll be denied jobs, blocked from building places of worship, or forbidden from sharing your beliefs with your own children. Despite these difficulties, hope persists. Even in the darkest places, people of faith are lighting candles. In Burkina Faso, where jihadist attacks terrorize communities daily, religious groups organize peace soccer matches, refusing to let extremism divide them. In Mozambique's war-torn Cabo Delgado, churches have become lifelines for displaced families of all religious traditions, providing not just spiritual comfort, but food, shelter, and safety. Religious freedom cannot be defended by faith communities alone. It requires all of us, governments, institutions, educators, individuals like you and I. We must raise our voices, demand protection. And remember, if religious freedom is denied to one, sooner or later, it will be denied to all. The time to act is now, because religious freedom is a human right, not a privilege.
Thank you very much for being here, like every year since the last 8 years, thanks to Pavel Svoboda and some other initiatives that we have had, and the perseverance of the organizers. We have the privilege to come and try to spread the information about this tragedy that develops every single year. As maybe some of you know, but I am the one who does the advocacy, that's the lobby for Aid to the Church in Need. I have been the editor-in-chief of this report for 4 editions. And also, I mean, that gives me a position in which I can see the evolution of this, this problem. Plus, I have been in the past, before I became was doing any kind of work for the church, I was a correspondent for CNN. Okay, so when I hear people talking about how come that this is not in the media, I know why it's not, okay? I'm all the time trying to break the wall towards the ears and hearts and souls of the media, of the politicians, of anybody who can help us change the sort of our persecuted brothers and sisters like you saw them in the video. And I would really like to share these experiences with you. The Catholic Church has always upheld religious freedom for all. The Second Vatican Council, in the letter Dignitatis Humana, asserted that this right must be recognized in the legal and institutional life of every nation. Recognized in the legal and institutional life of every nation. Therefore, defending religious freedom must be lived, protected, and promoted daily. Since our founding of Aid to the Church in Need in 1947, our mission has been to foster forgiveness, reconciliation, and to support and give voice to the Church wherever it is needed, threatened, or suffering. Wanted to make the comment here also that sometimes they say, okay, this group is a little bit too homogeneous, we are like in a bubble, as the colleague correctly said. But as Monica said, I'm a member of a couple of councils of experts, which are like boards of advice to governments of different countries, even Buddhist countries. In Asia, the Civilizational Values Alliance is based in Indonesia. So we do talk to different religions. However, it is a fact that these are organizations that are open for membership to any country that is member of the United Nations. And we find ourselves in a bubble. How come, you see, when it's open and they are invited to join, they are still keeping away? Why? Because there are many countries that, in spite of having signed the UN Declaration for Fundamental Rights, the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights, they have so many objections to its practical application that they do not even want to join us in the meetings. So our meetings become a bubble because they refuse, and they have told us like that, we are not even contemplating the possibility of acknowledging that we are all equal in dignity, or we are not ready to start believing that the right to change of religion exists. There are many religions which actually punish very heavily, even with death, the change of religion. So we are in a situation in which we have to persevere, and certainly as Christians, we have to continue living in the world, trying to attract more and more people to accept the equal dignity of all. And that is one of our main tasks today. We have really to make a special effort, as the colleague was saying, this polarized world, and you have heard that phrase so often. We're in a polarized world, but we are no matter how different we are, as Christians, we have to persevere in the search for acceptance of equal dignity. For over 25 years, our report on religion is a powerful awareness tool. It is a compilation of evidence of how things are going. After almost 10 years of being the editor-in-chief, I have seen 400 pages added to that report, which is a very physical demonstration of how bad, how worse things have evolved. It's really, really not good. And when you see this, 1,268 pages now. So it's a lot of evidence. And what do we do with this evidence other than just imagine 1,246 pages? You drop it on somebody and you should cause some impression. But it's really difficult still to achieve that. It gives voice to the voiceless, revealing the hidden suffering of many. Your comments also support the church mission globally, reaching often isolated, marginalized, or pressured communities. Wherever aid to the church in need reveals a chapel, supports a nun, like the ones that you saw, or provides a radio station or a vehicle, it strengthens the church life and the spiritual and moral fabric of society. Your assistance also helps Christians, even small and vulnerable minorities, become peacemakers. In countries like the Central African Republic, Burkina Faso, Mozambique, the local church, often supported by your aid, stands as a living sign of social harmony and fraternity, showing neighbors that a different world is possible. So these activities like today's procession, prayer session, and the concert afterwards have a lot of meaning, even if you feel that it's only a little drop of water. So you saw it. Nearly 2/3 of the world's population live without religious freedom, which sounds really terrible. Covering our report has been done every 2 years since already 25 years. And we have included now a structure that allows for comparing one country with itself in the previous edition. So we can actually use it as an academic research tool or a policy-making tool to help improve the sort of our brothers and sisters. So the 5.4 billion people, or about 65% of the world's population, live in countries with serious or very serious freedom of religion violations. In our report, you find a page that is it's like a table with 38 lines in which you can actually do like this and check if in your country those violations are occurring, and it is possible then to determine how bad is the situation on religious freedom. We use it as a guide for the authors to help us determine the color in the map that you saw in the video. If the country is red, it's because it really has too many of those boxes checked. And now, when we are talking more and more often about the topic of our first panel, persecution in the West, that means for people like me who have been observing that there are of the 4 categories that we have, which are intolerance, discrimination, persecution, and genocide. There are more and more boxes that are checked in countries in the West. So in conventions, in conferences and other places that we go, we are finding more and more that the policymakers, the ones who have the responsibility really for doing not only the internal but also the external policy, they are speaking more about their own country. So the mandate of those responsible for religious freedom is now exceeding the borders. The European Union has a special envoy, they should have a special envoy for religious freedom outside the European Union. Most members of the European Union, on the United States, et cetera, have ambassadors for external, international religious freedom. So they are just supposed to be looking at what's happening inside. But now this trend is unsustainable. Now people really want to know why all those things are happening in their temples. Now, there are a couple of things that are not in that video, and I wanted just to underline 3 trends that are appearing in the last period of 2 years and that are diagnosed, estimated to get much worse in the coming 2 years, okay? One of them is the presence of the autocrat. The autocrat, we say authoritarianism, okay. The autocrat is an individual who is power hungry and is willing to expand his control and his power and wealth over a larger territory. He will be looking for competing centers of power, people challenging him, leaders, labor leaders, educational leaders, artistic leaders, but and he will little by little try to bring them closer to him or eliminate them. Nevertheless, the leader that he fears the most is the religious leader. Why? Because the religious leader has the power of mobilization that he dreams of, and he doesn't need weapons nor money to do the mobilization. So absolutely, for any autocrat, it's capital importance to have the religious leaders on his side, or else he will devise a strategy using violent and non-violent methods to get rid of the said leader. So when you keep this figure in mind, who is the autocrat, you have to realize that it's not only Xi Jinping of China. It can be the jihadist leader. It can be the leader of the cartel. It can be really anybody who leads a transnational cell of violence that is tormenting and has as a common enemy the religious leaders. It's really very peculiar, but this is a recent observation that we are going to continue studying academically. When you realize that one autocrat over a network that is transnational, like jihadism, like drug cartels, like communist ideology, they are looking to eliminate, in first place, the religious leaders. So with this autocrat figure, you see that, yes, one of the trends is that jihadism has reappeared, has reemerged, and it has moved. We thought that the previous edition we presented that the jihadism had moved from Middle East to Africa. Now we see them resurging in the Middle East. So they are back in Syria, they are back in Lebanon, they are back in all these areas where we thought that they were gone. Now they are transformed and even stronger, and also they are present in Africa. Then in Latin America, you are going to see in our map that for the first time Mexico is there colored in orange. And this, Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Mexico are there in color. What is happening there? That the autocrats joined forces with the ideology, Marxist ideology and organized crime to continue using them as sources, endless sources of money and weapons. And we are going to hear the consequences when Aníbal explains us what went on in Nicaragua, no thanks to this Marxism and organized crime supporting the perpetuation of an autocrat. So this is what we are going to be looking at. We have transnational enemies. We have to act transnationally. Stop looking at the borders. Our enemies do not look at borders. They go well beyond them, and they are very well organized, and that's how their money and their weapons, they are doing away with us in that kind of manner that we saw in the video. Thank you very much for your attention.